here are your notes, excuse me, on identifying functions. So you're going to need this to make sure you can do your worksheet that you're going to have in a little bit. So you need to know how to identify. And these are notes I would be taking in my notebook. I would be writing this down. If I say something that you think is important or really makes a lot of sense to you, and I did not write it down, you should still write it in your notes. Alright, so how do I identify functions? So that's your learning target, is how can I identify functions. And there's three main ways that the information, that the relation, may be presented to you. One, it might be through a mapping. A mapping, as an example, would be like this. They have these kind of shapes, usually ovals, and they're labeled as either your X and your Y, your input and your output, or your X and your F of X. So there'll be numbers in here, and then numbers in here, and there'll be arrows telling you when you put this one in, you get a 3. There are not arrows here. This is a one-directional thing. The 1 will give you a 3. The 3 does not give you a 1. Okay? The second way the information may be provided to you is through a set of points. So the same information as a set of points. I need to use some set notation, some fancy little brackets. And I would tell you the X and the Y that go together. Well, here it says 1 goes with 3. 1 is my X, it comes first in a point, in a coordinate pair. And 3 is kind of its match. That's what its output is. My next point would be if X is 2, I'll get a 3. I only have 2 points in that relation. So here's my 2 points. That's a really weird looking little function thing, I'm sorry. Your third way that the information may be presented to you, the relation may be presented to you to tell you or for you to say if it's a function or not, would be a graph. I'll give you an example, but I'm pretty sure you would know what I'm talking about. So there's my axes, and here's a graph of a line. It doesn't always have to be a line, but there's one. Alright, so let's do the first one. Let's do mapping. So mapping is just a different way of showing those points, and I'm pretty sure you guys saw this last class, so let's just review just in case. Alright, so as some examples, let's do, ooh, that's an ugly thing. Okay, let's do X and Y. Let's say 1, 4, 7. And notice that there are no repeated numbers and that this is in order. So let's go -2, 10, and 12. So I'm going to say when I put a 1 into this function, I get a 10, a 4 will get me a 12, and a 7 will get me a -2. Remember, your objective, your learning target, is to be able to identify functions, to say, yes, this is a function and why, or no, this is not a function and why. So, is this a function? Well, yes, because this X has only one Y, only one Y, only one Y. Definition of a function is that each X has only one Y. So is this a function? Yes. And again, it is because each X has only one Y. Something I want to make sure you have, domain and range. Domain, and some of you knew this already, domain are the X values. Range are the Y values. So here, one way students will sometimes remember this, if you're doing alphabetical order, X comes before Y in the alphabet, D comes before R in the alphabet. They're both alphabetical order. So over here, if I were to ask for the domain of this function, it's a lot similar to how you would map it. You will not have repeats, and you don't do it in order. So your domain, I did set notation again, because domain is a set of points that represent the x coordinate. Not a set of points, excuse me. It's a set of the x values. 1, 4, 7. And then if I had to do the range, that would just be the y values in order from smallest to greatest. So -2, 10, and 12. Okay, so yes, it is a function. There's my domain, there's my range. If I was asked to put this into a set of points, I'm running out of room, so I'm going to do it here. I hope that's okay. So if I had to do a set of points for this function, again, my set notation, my first point, 1 goes to 10. So the x is 1, the y is 10. If I put a 4 into this function, I get a 12. 4 is my x, 12 is my y. If I put a 7 into this function, I get a -2. 7 is my x, -2 is the y that goes with it. There's my set of points. There's my domain, there's my range, and yes, it is a function. Okay? Let's try another one of those. So in your worksheet that you're going to have in a little while, you will be asked to do all of those things, all 4 of those things. Identify if it's a function, make a set of points, and then from there tell the domain and range. Okay, so example 2, still the mapping. Let's do 3, 7, 10. So 3 is going to go to 10, and 7 is going to go to 10. So is this a function? Does every x go to only one y? Yes. That y has a couple of x's associated with it, but each x, I know what I'm going to get every time. That's just a semicolon I just made, by the way, which kind of separates some ideas. So now I'm going to do a set of points. 3 gets you a 10, and 7 gets you a 10. My domain would be 3 and 7. Oh, I didn't label these, I'm sorry. This is my x, this is my y. My range would be 10. Okay? Let's do one more example of a mapping. Let's set this up so we specifically know that it will not be a function. So for this not to be a function, one of my x's will have to go to more than one y. So let's make 4 the thing that kind of messes it up. Alright, let's make 4 the thing that makes this not a function. This 4, I don't know if I'm going to get a 7 or an 11. So no, this is not a function. I can still give you a set of points though. 3 goes with 7. 4 goes with 2 things. I'm going to have to list it twice. 4 goes with 7, and 4 goes with 11. There are 2 different points on that graph where x is 4. My domain is the same situation as it was before. The domain are my x values, so 3 and 4, listed in order from smallest to largest. And my range, same thing, and my y values, smallest number up to the largest number. So I can still list these things. These things are just describe a relation. A function is a relation. Every function is a relation. Not all relations are functions. Functions are a specific type of relation. All right, so there is mapping. Let's move on to doing this with sets of points. So this was like the second way you had to identify functions, right? Mapping was first. Set of points would be next. All right, so let's do some examples. Example 1, do your set notation, your little brackets. Let's do 3 goes to 7, 4 goes to 1, and let's do something crazy. 2.5 goes to negative 6. Right? You can have other things than integers in this. So I want to know, is this a function? For some of you, I'm also going to ask, well, excuse me, for all of you, I'm also going to ask you to map this. So for some of you, it might be easier to see the mapping first. So let's do that, because we just worked on how to tell if something's a function when we've mapped it. So my x's, my y's. Okay, so what's the smallest x? 2.5. Remember, start with your smallest x in here, then a 3, and a 4. Excuse me. And then my smallest y would be negative 6, then a 1, and then a 7. So now I'll just match them up. So 2.5 goes to negative 6. My arrow is going towards my y value, towards my output. 3 goes to 7. And 4 goes to 1. Okay, so this x has 1y, 1y, 1y. So, yes, this is a function. My domain is kind of taken care of when I do a mapping like this. My domain is 2.5, 3, and 4. My range is negative 6, 1, 7. And I just got that from right here, from the y's. Okay, let's do another one. Let's do 3 goes to 4. 4 goes to 5. 3 goes to 2. Okay, so let's check. 3 goes to 4. Okay. 4 goes to 5. Okay, they each have 1. 3 also goes to 2. Well, over here it said it goes to 4. Over here it says it goes to 2. So that means no, this is not a function. If I were to map it, oh gosh, if I were to map it, smallest number is 3, followed by a 4. I don't put the 3 down twice, even though there's 2 different points. You'll remember that from when we were mapping and going to a set of points. I'd have to write it twice. Here I don't. You just write it once. My y's would be 2. 2 is the smallest y. 4, and then a 5. So this first point says 3 goes to 4, 4 goes to 5, and then 3 goes to 2 as well. So this 3 has 2 y's. This x has 2 y's. That's why it is not a function. My domain would be 3 and 4, since those are my x values in order from smallest to largest. The range is 2, 4, 5. My y values in order from smallest to largest. Okay? Our last thing is graphing. to be doing graphing to see if something is a function. This is number 3. Let's do some examples. Okay, so, oh, that's really ugly, sorry. And this way, oh my gosh. And then, let's put in just a line. Alright, there's a line. So if I were to ask you about sets of points here, here's a point. If I were going to label that point, my x would be 1, 2, 3. My y would be a 2. So that means, let's do mappings actually. 3 goes to 2. Looks like a 13, sorry. Usually since we start with mappings, people prefer the mappings, but okay, so 3 goes to 2. Here's my x's, here's my y's. Let's pick another point. Okay, so my x is negative 2. This won't be in order, and I'm sorry. My y is negative 1. So I guess what we're really looking for, right, is to see if there's any point on this line that I would have repeats of y's. I would have an x with 2 y's. I'll kind of show you an example of what we're looking for. So this will be example 2. This is example 1. So for example 2, oh my gosh, I'll try and keep this a straighter line. It is not working. Here's example 2. Let's do this for a shape. So let's pick any x value. Let's pick an x value of 1. So I was going to do a mapping. My x would be a 1. So on this dotted line that I'm drawing, x equals 1. So there's a point right here on the graph where x is 1. Then there's this point down here where x is 1 as well. So if I have done that, if there's been 2 spots where x is 1, that means that when x is 1, y could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or when x is 1, y could be 1, 2, 3, negative 3. That is not a function. No, that is not a function. Right? This this x value of 1 has 2 points on it, 2 y's. It's like I've drawn a straight line down, right? And I see, oh my gosh, my graph that I have drawn touches that line, that straight up and down line twice. And I can do a straight up and down line to test this because that will give me all of if there's more than one y value that goes with that x. So over here, if I were to do a straight line, there's no parts of my graph that would touch that straight line twice. So this is a function. This, when you're graphing, is called the vertical line test. Okay? I don't know if they'll give me a physical line to be able to see. Let's check. I'll just draw things. So I don't know if I should do that with my axes, huh? Nope. Oh, yes, they will. That's horrible with all those dots, and I'm sorry. But this is what I mean when I am talking about that. So you should be able to take your pencil or a vertical line and move it throughout your graph. Do you see how the blue graph never touches the black vertical line more than once? Touches it once. Touches it once. That's a function. Whereas over here, if I do the same test, bam, right there. There's a point above and there's a point below where my blue graph touches the black vertical line twice. That means, just like this right here, that my x value of 1 has 2 different y's. My x value of 2 has 2 different y's. All of these x values, my x value of -2 has a y on top and a y on bottom. That is not a function. So the vertical line test is when you have 2 points on your graph, 2 parts of your graph that touch the vertical line at the same time. That's a no, not a function, because that signifies this x has 2 y's. So let's do some more. Do example 3. It's really ugly, I'm sorry. Alright, so let's say this is my graph. I'm going to do that in a different color so you have something to compare. Alright, so let's go back and do the vertical line test to see if it's a function or not. Okay, touches it once. Okay, I'm good. That line is only touching the black vertical line once. So this is, yes, that's a function. Let's do another one. Oh my goodness. Let's try that again. I should use the line tool, huh? Or just be able to do a straight line. So there's one, there's another. What if I were to do something like this? Do the vertical line test. Do we think that's a function or not? Excuse me. So, right there, I'm good. I'm good, I'm good. Not right there. There are 3 places that it hits my line. When I say the line, I mean the vertical line, right? The graph that I have drawn touches the vertical line 3 times. So that is definitely not a function. Okay? So, you're now going to complete that worksheet. If you have any questions, email me. I'm at a conference and I should be able to kind of help with those.